Oh, today I'd like to discuss why I believe funding SETI is good for our freedom and why I believe that defunding it is bad for our freedom. And I'm talking about government funding. I imagine a lot of you are Ayn Randers and John Galt fans, that type of thing, so you're skeptical of my claim. Let me preface, as I am here now, the Allen Telescope Array is offline due to it might be online again by the time you're watching this, but as of now, it is offline due to budget cuts from, I would assume, both the state of California, since their partner would be UC Berkeley, but also apparently the federal government hasn't been directly funding SETI for a long time. So I would imagine that the impact of federal budget cuts may be somewhat indirect, although would also imagine that there could be some degree of federal funding of SETI. It's just maybe not as direct as it was at one time. But the bottom line is SETI is offline due to a cut in government funding. And for a lot of you who might be conservatives, libertarians, and Randers, that's a good thing. But I want to make a case that it's actually a bad thing for the very freedom that you and I both claim to uphold and that, we would both cherish that. But I believe that I am the one who's defending it by saying that we should fund SETI. Now, why am I saying this? You would argue that government is coercive and that inherently taxation is coercive, and that would include democratic government, that's just as coercive as anything else. Okay, I understand what the argument is. I have read Dan Rand, I have read von Hayek, I have read Rothbard, I have read a lot of these philosophers, and I would say that, I'll grant the classical liberal argument as being a cogent argument. In other words, having read Mill and having read a lot of these other folks, I don't class Thomas Jefferson or Thomas Paine in with the 19th century classical liberals. I mean, I believe that the founding fathers were classical liberals, but they were 18th century classical liberals. So you can't confuse apples and oranges here. They were more concerned with the proper mix of political liberty, and they were more concerned with republicanism than, let's say, the 19th century classical liberals. But okay, so you would mix them all together, but of course everybody claims the mantle of the founding fathers, right? Even the communists claim to be 20th century Americans. That what they stood for was 20th century Americanism. Even the SDS, before the Tea Party, dressed in all these patriot colonial costumes, SDS did. So, it's not like anyone, it's not just the Tea Party who dresses up and looks ridiculous. I guess Stoughton Lynd of SDS did also. So I won't fault them there. But the bottom line is that you're going to claim, those of you who are Tea Partiers and Randers, you're going to claim that cutting funding for SETI is a good thing. Why is it that it actually is a bad thing for freedom? Very simple. Politicians they absolutely hate knowledge. They hate science. They hate intellectualism. They hate, even more than science and knowledge, they hate philosophy. They absolutely loathe philosophy. But, they like science more than they like philosophy. They'll like science and religion more than they'll like philosophy. Even the communists will like religion more than they like philosophy, and even the extreme even theocrats will like science more than they'll like philosophy. Okay, well, in the case of SETI, there's maybe a little bit of a merger of science, philosophy, and a little bit of theology in a sense also. I mean, in other words, if there is some kind of civilization out there, then, it opens deep theological questions people think about. Okay, they use their reasoning, but not just analytic reasoning, feeling reason. Okay, it opens up grand questions about the nature of the universe, and the politicians don't really want us to think about those things for natural reasons. They want us to obey. They want us to join the military, have families, either join some kind of religion or believe some kind of secular philosophy or anything like that. And I'm not against joining a religion. I'm not against believing in a secular philosophy. I'm just saying that let's put it this way. I'm in favor of those things, but I'm in favor of those things from a deep feeling and thinking motivation. They would just want you to do it to work hard, pay your taxes, and obey. But I haven't addressed the fundamental issue of why I believe that actually government-funded SETI is a good thing for freedom. Okay, so a lot of you may agree with me thus far, but you're not going to go along with my overall claim that government-funded SETI is actually a good thing. Well, here it is. Okay, the more they spend hard-earned tax money, I'll agree, hard-earned tax money on SETI, the less they're going to spend it on repression, the less they are going to spend it on war, the less they are going to spend it on bailing out bankers, which both parties seem to believe is the norm now. We got to bail them out. They're too big to fail. The less they're going to spend it on repression of citizens, the war on drugs, gun control, the war on everything, things that you and I will both oppose, because if you're libertarian, I'll agree with you on all those issues. And so, the bottom line is the more they spend on schools, the more they spend on knowledge, the less they spend on those things. I mean, there's a limited pie, right? They can only spend so much. As it is, we're borrowing from China, which is a whole issue right there. We're borrowing from China to fund some of the most outrageous things: wars, corporate bailouts, ever-expanding police and military operations. The more they spend on SETI, the less they have for that. I mean, think about it. It's win-win, right? We get really cool stuff to peer into the universe, and there's less to spend on tracking you everywhere you go. So if you believe in freedom and you believe in individual liberty, call your congressman and ask them to fund SETI again. Maybe you have some idealistic utopia in which there is no government funding of anything, but that's not the world we live in, and it never will be. So I say the government's going to fund something. Let political pressure be such that it funds education and science. Thank you.